Well, here we are, February 9th, 2024, and this is the weekly video for, we do these every Friday. We take a look and see what's been going on in the Asian art market, the auction market in general, Chinese antiques and so forth. And it's starting to get busy again, and there's a couple of good sales coming up. There's one in March in particular I'm going to mention today that's coming up at Bonham's. They've apparently picked up an interesting group of lots. We're going to talk about those a little today and some other things, some results and some soft prices and maybe a couple of opportunities to buy things at pretty good prices post auction. We're going to talk about the Carlo Bonte sale because they had a lot of unsold lots for some reason, and we'll get into why I think in a minute. But it does pose an opportunity if you're interested. The other thing I wanted to mention was that over on the Patreon pages this week, we added a lot of content this week over there. We added a whole bunch of books, catalogs, and so forth. We did a video, as those of you, many of you have subscribed, so thank you. We did this weekly video on the Arita vase and how I came about buying it and a little bit of history about Arita and so forth. I think it came out pretty well. And the other thing is that in the news articles in there this week, there was this story, and I don't know if any of you have heard this. It's been in the press a little bit. In England, they found a lemon that somebody had incised decorated back in the 1700s, and they found it in a closet. It's got this writing on here, and it says given to somebody, and it explains there's a whole story behind it. It's pretty interesting. It was a 300-year-old lemon. And they threw it in the sale for the fun of it. They found it in the cupboard of an English house in the countryside, and they gave it a 40-pound opening bid, I guess, and they thought it would be fun to put it in the auction, as they put it, and it ended up selling. It got a lot of action. Ended up selling for 1,400 pounds, $1,788 US, including the buyer's premium and all this sort of thing. And it's sort of an interesting story. And it's got this little inscription on it and so forth. So it just shows you, a dried out lemon, nobody wants it. Put some writing on it. And a date, it's dated, I think it was dated to 1742. Makes it a whole other thing. Makes it pretty interesting. And that's a great little story. It's sort of a piece of folk art. And I can see why somebody would buy it. Because it's solid, it's not going to break, it's all dried out. It'll last a long, long, long time. It'll last another 300 or 400 years. So that's pretty great. And the other thing is this is the sale that's taking place at Bonham's in March during Asia Week, and you want to check it out. They've got a bunch of deaccessions from the Metropolitan Museum that they're going to be handling, as well as several good collections, and it looks like a pretty interesting sale. It looks like a very interesting sale. There's some nice things in there, and we'll be covering it when it comes up. And the items are not posted yet on Bonham's site. I already checked, so you don't have to go look. It isn't all there yet, but it will be probably around the end of this month. So I expect to see it popping up there because the sale will be around the 18th or so of March. So we'll cover it. We'll remind you of it, but I just wanted to mention it, and it's on the Patreon page. You can go look at it if you want to read the story. Now, over on eBay this week, it was a pretty good week. They had some decent prices. There was this very nice 1750 Nanking cargo plate. I actually had a few inquiries on this. I liked this plate quite a bit. I thought it was very, very nice. I like the way they did the decorations on these during the mid-18th century, where they would have different areas, sort of floating areas of decoration, and then all negative space around it. Visually, I think it's very successful. Really, really works. And apparently a lot of people liked it. It ended up selling for $411, and this was sold by eBay Consignor Store. They are down in Winter Park, down in Florida, and they get some interesting things from time to time. This was one of them. I liked that a lot. I thought that was a good solid piece. And then there was this. This was sort of a bargain. A pair of hat stands with the openings, the vent holes in it, famille rose decorated. Now these were late 19th century stands, and they had Daoguan marks on them. And I'm wondering if it maybe threw people off, and they thought, oh, these must be modern copies or something. They're not modern. They just had earlier marks than the vases actually were. There's the inside of it, and here are the marks. And the marks are obviously, it's not a Daoguan example, but if you look at the foot rim and then you check out the enameling on it, you realize that it is late Qing enamel work, late Qing decoration, and often these reticulated hat stands. I think if it didn't have the mark on it, we probably would have brought more. But I think the mark threw people off, and they were thinking, well, it's not Jai Jing work, so it must be a copy. And that's sometimes the conclusion people jump to, but they forget that Daguan marks and Jing marks and Qianlong marks and all these other marks, they get used all the time in the late 19th century and into the Republic period. And the pair of these only sold for $611, which I think was a great buy. I would have if somebody had asked me what do I think they'll bring, I'd say they'll probably bring $500 or $600 each. And in this case, they just brought $611 for the pair. So that was a great buy, somebody. And then there was this Sononia straight style pink ground, sgraffito ground vase, 17 inches tall, and it sold for 647 pounds or 815 US, which is about right. It would have brought more, but it had a hole in the bottom. It had been drilled and turned into a table lamp at one point, which so many vases were. And this was another example, but it was wonderfully decorated. I thought the decoration on it was quite elegant, very, very beautiful, nicely finished, nice colors, evenly done, nothing wrong with it. And they had these nice foo lions, the foo lions on the shoulder here and here on each side. They were looked to be intact, and $815, but it was a 17-inch vase, so that's not a bad price. Not a bad price at all. And then there was this. This was Jagart's Limited, had this nice little late Ming gilt bronze chop, very small one, but nicely done, very delicate, had a nice surface on it. There's the underside of it. And it did well. It sold for $668. But it was a nice piece. That's a good, genuine thing. Nice object. And then there was this, the Kangxi or early-ish 18th century jar. They listed it as Rufes was selling this. He said it's Kangxi, and I'll go along with him on that because he's quite good. He doesn't mislead people. And the part of this decoration also, I would say, the way the bamboo and the plum blossoms are done on here are also done very similar the way you'll see them done on transitional wares. Especially on these types of jars. This was this type of decoration you'll see on transitional pieces all the time. And but this one he feels was Kangxi. It was a nice pot. Ended up selling for $1,750. Good piece of porcelain. Very good. And then over here to this, a few lots that are coming up. There's other things there that sold, a lot of things sold, but most of them were plates and teacups and bowls and sort of in the typical price ranges, of 100 to 300 or 400, that kind of thing. Not a lot of high price items, but there's a couple of things this week on here that could do pretty well. One of them is this sort of raspberry ground moon flask. It's a nice one, well decorated, nice famille rose, rich famille rose decoration. Very nicely done. Nice dragons on the shoulder. It looks to be in good condition. It closes on tomorrow. It ends tomorrow. It's up to $182. All right, and now it should get up to around 1,000 or so. So we'll see. They typically do, as you know. We always show these moon flasks because people love them. And do they put the height on here? 14 inches high. This thing is going to it'll bring more. I thought it was a little smaller than that. I wouldn't be surprised if it brought $1,200 to $1,500. It's a pretty nice looking moon flask. And it'll be on the newsletter page this week. All these pieces will be on there. And then there's this nice carving of a beggar with his bag and this little foo lion next to him. Nice old carving. This is looks like a pretty good one. Nice facial expression. This is not a modern copy. All right, this is a nice old carving. Here's the top of it. It looks like, I'm just checking it to make sure it's in good shape. It looks like it's in good shape all the way around. It's got an old split in the bottom. That's normal, just from drying out. And it's got this lotus pod hat that he was wearing. I like that. That's pretty great. And it's right now, it's only up to 16 pounds or $20 US. It ends on Sunday, and it's how tall is this thing? I think it was 6 inches or something. 7 inches in height. There it is, 7 inches tall. So it should end up in the $300 or $400 range anyway. But it's a nice carving. If you like carvings, you might want to go after this. It's a nice one. And also there are these on eBay. The nice pair of armorial, or not armorial, but young Qin to early Qianlong period open salts. These are quite nice. And these are being sold by a seller. What's it called? Kinkozan fan. He normally sells Japanese stuff, Kinkozan, obviously. But anyway, he's got these Chinese pieces in here. Nice pair of salts. And lately, I've noticed salts have been selling for relative bargain prices. They used to be open salts in the 1980s and 90s and into the early 2000s. A good pair of 18th century Yongchen or Qinlong salts would sell for a pair of them with good enameling would sell for somewhere in the $600 to $800 range. And lately, they've been sort of coming in at around $300 or $400. And I don't know why. I don't know why the big drop is, because they're very desirable, and it's a Western form. You see them in silver sometimes, and here's a nice porcelain pair. Let's see how they do. But if you're looking for a pair of nice open salts, there you have it. And then there's this transitional period, sleeve vase, Chonzen period, Shunji period, and it's up to $508. It closes on Sunday. It should end up in the $1,500 range, somewhere up there. But it looks completely legitimate to me from what I can see, and it looks like it's in very nice condition. It's a sort of a standard pattern. This is one of the most popular patterns that you find on these transitional pieces, but it's very, very nicely done. Nice white body on the porcelain, and expect it'll probably triple its current price right now, which is it's at $500 US. But figure if you're serious about buying it, you probably want to drop a couple of thousand on it. All right, and then this came back. I don't know why. This sold, eBay Consignor Store sold this a couple of weeks ago, and it did fine. I didn't think it was a terribly high price. And here it is again. Apparently the buyer didn't pay for it. Pay your bills, for heaven's sakes. They didn't put in an explanation why it's being reoffered, but you can safely assume, I think, that whoever bid on it decided not to pay his bill, which is a lousy way to do things. It should bring $1,000 to $1,500. It's a nice Kangxi period Femiver square bottle, and if you felt badly that you didn't get it last time, you get a second shot at it now. All right, and if you liked it enough to bid on it a couple of weeks ago, you should still like it enough to buy it again if you have the opportunity. It's a nice piece. It's a nice piece. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Maybe the person that bought it was showed it to a friend or something with bad information, and they said, "Oh no, you don't want to buy that, or you don't want that." And who knows? I hear more silly comments from people that they've been told about things over each week. It's hard to believe people actually say some of it. This is a nice vase. This is a nice gin bottle, rather. And if you've been wanting one of these, buy it. All right. And then this is a buy it now price item that I found, and it's going to be on the newsletter. I don't put a lot of buy it now pieces in there because I know you guys all like auctions, but this is sort of a bargain. This is a Ming Dynasty bronze. Completely legitimate, and it's the price is just $378 for this. And we've seen these before. Some of you who have watched the videos will remember we've seen this exact same. This was a form they did. It was a well-known shape. It's sort of atypical, but they did do them. And there's been probably 3 or 4 very similarly type examples on the market in the last year, and they all seem to sell anywhere from on the low end $650 and on the high end up around $1,100. This one's for sale for $378. Now it looks like it has a slight bend in it, but I checked that out and see how much it really is and if it can be straightened, because this is a nice old bronze. This is a nice old 16th century bronze. All right, so check that out. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, I was talking at the beginning about the Marquis de Santos sale, and they had a lot of buy-ins. And I think part of it is the shipping stuff and all that, getting it out of Portugal and one thing and another. But there's some pretty good pieces in here. And if you want to go through their sale, it's on Live Auctioneers. There are a number of good lots in here that just didn't sell. I have no idea why. And you may be able to contact them and get yourself a good buy on some of these, because their estimates were a little strong, but the opening bids were reasonable. And this was a Kangxi bowl that didn't sell. It was 34 centimeters in diameter, so it's about 14 inches wide. It's a big basin, a nice bowl. It's a shallow bowl, but beautifully decorated. It had a starting bid of 1,500 euros, 2,500 to 33,000 euro estimate. But look at the condition of it. Looks like it's in wonderful shape. Look at the gilding, these gilded flowers all through the middle. I don't see any wear on them at all. And they're the areas that get worn off, of course, first, because it rests on the surface. It's very prone to wear. And this piece looks like it's in beautiful condition. So if you're interested, the other problem with this outfit, and I don't know why they do this, Marquis de Santos, they're in Portugal. They only put up one picture for each item much of the time. Sometimes they throw in a couple of extras, but on a plate like this, they should have had the front, the back, a detail shot of it. For some reason, they don't, these places, and they do in-house shipping, so you'll be able to get a shipping rate from them. But I don't know why they're so chintzy on the photographs. They got the thing on the table. Take the picture. Add the extra photographs. Market the thing. And they didn't. And if you can pick this up for a little below the low estimate, a couple of $1,000, $1,500 to $2,000, that's a good buy. All right, and the same thing goes for this platter. This didn't sell. This was a 12-inch platter, beautiful enamels, estimated at 1,800 to 2,400 euros. It didn't sell. I don't know why. The yellow on this is quite striking. Beautiful blue decoration, nice looking plate, and in very, very fine condition. And again, make an offer on it. It's certainly worth it. They had some things that did well, though. Here's this, let's see, this was the fan. Oh, yeah, this was a great fan. Mid-19th century fan with silver gilt blades coming off the middle with enamels on them. And we've seen those before, and very tightly drawn figures sitting in different scenes, in court scenes and so forth. They didn't show the back of it. I don't know why, because this probably had a rather attractive back on it. Looked like it was in good shape. And it ended up selling for $3,771 plus the premium, so around $4,500, $4,600 for it. But it's a rare bird with those fan blades done with silver and enamel. It's beautiful enameling on there, quite spectacular. But they should have shown a close up of it so you could see it. They're going to learn to sell their stuff a little better. And then over to this. This was the Heinemann sale, and I had more inquiries about these. I got more inquiries about these wallpaper again this week. Everybody loved these things. I had one guy who was wondering if it really was wallpaper last week. I talked about it a bit, and I just wanted to circle back and we had talked. We thought it would bring 5,000 to 6,000 anyway, and it did. It sold for $7,500 plus the premium, so it ended up at around $9,000 for the pair. But these were big panels, 73 inches. They were over 6 feet tall each, but and beautifully decorated. Nice scenes on them, very pleasing, very pleasing color palette too as well. And I love the frame on this, rather great. It looks like a frame you might see that would have been made into a Trumeau or something like that in Europe. Very, very attractive. Here's the other one, nice scene. And somebody got it for a good price. I think I don't think the price was outrageous at all. It was a wonderful looking pair of pictures. Nice objects. And then there was this. Now this was a bargain. This was also at Heinemann's. Was this milk jug, and maybe people didn't bid on it because it looks like a small cruet. It looks like one of these these 4 or 5 inch cruets or creamers that you see with a tea set. If you go down there and read the description, you would have found that the thing is over a foot tall. This was a big piece of porcelain, and it was estimated fairly modestly, $800 to $1,200. Ended up selling for $400 plus premium. This was an absolute bargain. And it was sold by Matthew Sharp. Oh, I didn't see that before in Pennsylvania. Matthew and Elizabeth Sharp, they were longtime dealers in PA, handled great stuff. They sold American furniture, China trade things, early American textiles, decorative art. They were good dealers. They had very good reputation. And they were very active in the 1980s and into the 90s. This was a nice picture. And I think that was one of the bargains of the day, because it should have brought the high estimate or close to it. 12 inches tall for a milk jug, very unusual. And then there was this, the double spout export teapot, Kangxi period, and it brought right about what we thought it should bring. This one did fine. It's got the faux bamboo porcelain handles and so forth. It looks like it might have had a repair over in here, but an unusual form with twin spouts, and ended up selling for $1,600 plus the premium. All right, and then this took off. This was also in the Heinemann sale. Was this tobacco leaf and eggplant form sauce terrine, and these are extremely rare. I think we said 15 or 20,000. It went way over that. Ended up selling for 40,000 plus premium. So this ended up being around $50,000 when you're all said and done. Very, very rare type though, extremely rare, and it did great. I don't know what else to say about it. It was a very successful object. And then this, I'm going back to this. I had mentioned this when it was on when they were previewing. This was the auction down in Rhode Island, Bruno and Company, and I mentioned this when it first went up. It was estimated, I thought, extremely reasonably at $3,000 to $5,000, and this was a nice Hong painting. Canton Hong painting with an American flag in the middle, lots of sampans in the scene, in the foreground, a couple of junks, and all of the buildings in the Hongs. This was a nice painting, and it ended up doing fine. It ended up selling for $11,500 plus premium, so it came in at around just about $15,000. I think that was what we said it would bring. We may have been actually nailed this one. It's hard though. It's hard to completely nail estimates. Estimates are estimates. But it ended up at around $15,000 with the premium, which is a perfectly reasonable price. There was another one that was not quite as interesting because it didn't have all the landmarks this one has, and it sold, I think, for around $6,000 or something. You can go check it out. It wasn't as interesting. This was very interesting. And then this sold, I think, also was a great buy. This was at Amaro auctions. These were all on the Global Member and Patreon pages. This was a very, very nice carved tortoiseshell card case from about 1820 or so. And tortoiseshell pieces, they do some phenomenal carving in tortoiseshell. And you just get into this thing and look at the details. It looks a little dried out. Could use a little TLC, I think, but it was a very, very nice card case, and it appeared not to be damaged. In the description, it said there may be a few little tiny breaks here and there. You'd have to probably go over it with a magnifying glass to find them. But overall, it looked like it was in great, great condition, and ended up selling for just $550 plus premium. So I think that was a great buy. I think the estimate was very, very reasonable. And in the past, we've seen these card cases sell for, we've seen the circular boxes and the card cases sell for $1,200 to $2,000. So this was a very nice buy for someone. All right, and people don't buy them if you're outside the U.S. This was in Florida, so European buyers aren't going to buy this. You're not going to be able to export it very well unless they fly into the United States, or have somebody pick it up and carry it back to Europe in their pocket, because they generally don't allow these for export, for legal export in many cases. All right, not without a CITES permit anyway. And then over to this. This was an interesting sale, and I always check out the oddball sales, the furniture sales, the decorative art sales at the big auction houses, because they often have Chinese things in them. They don't save all the Chinese things that come in to go to a Chinese auction for Chinese things. If they get a single owner collection, they're going to sell like they did with the Gettys and so forth. They're going to have Chinese export and Chinese porcelain mixed in with all the other object. And this was the Philip Hewitt Jabor collection, and it was called An Eye for the Magnificent, and he had all kinds of fascinating things in there. It's always fun to go through and look at other stuff besides Chinese and Japanese and Asian stuff, because you see some great forms and things you haven't seen before. And he was a real fan of carved and polished marble from the 17th and 18th century. So there's quite a bit of stonework in here. But there was also this. And this was a very nice buy. This was a sale over in the UK, and it's a beautifully done Kangxi jar with gilt ormolu mounts on it. And this was a big jar. I think it was 15 inches tall. It wasn't a little 5 or 6 inch jar. This was a 15-inch piece from top to bottom, and pull it in, nicely done. Nice gilt bronze work on it, all the way around. And I think it sold for a bargain. It was estimated at 2,500 to 4,000 pounds. It sold for 2,500 pounds, including premium. And I think that was an absolute steal. I would have thought that it should have brought closer to 4,000 to 6,000. So there you go. So somebody got a great buy on that. And then there was this very nice cabinet. This is an Anglo-Indian cabinet with mounted, it's ebony, done in ebony wood, beautifully carved, like a European, like a Jacobean chest on stand almost, but wonderfully, wonderfully carved. And I hope you take the time to look at these Anglo-Indian pieces. Beautifully done, reticulated here so that the air could flow in and out of the cabinet. And down below are some drawers. And then this wonderfully carved skirt across here with all these volutes and returns on them. And then these barley twist legs going down. Very, very typical, 17th century work. And this did well. It brought 50,000 pounds. Or around $60,000 US, but a rare bird, rare thing, 17th century, and from the Coromandel coast. of India. And then this, the Kangxi period wine cooler. This was a nice one. And it did fine. It ended up bringing around a little over 5,000 pounds. But I wanted to show it. It was beautifully done. Didn't have a lot of fritting on it. Looked like overall it was in great shape from top to bottom. I don't see anything to complain about on it. Maybe there's a tiny frit on one of the corners somewhere. There's the bottom. There's the inside. Nice condition all the way around. And this thing is probably about 8 inches in diameter or so, something like that. 6 3/4 inches high, 9 inches in diameter. There you go. But very good. 5,292 pounds. But a beautiful example. And then over here to this is a sale that's coming up in Bonhams on the 13th over in Knightsbridge. And they have another pair of these wallpaper panels. Now, these are very brightly colored. These are 19th century panels, beautifully done. Very, very richly decorated. I have to say, I love the birds. If you have somebody in your family who's into ornithology, this is a great pair of pictures, and they've been nicely framed up and so forth. How tall are they? 252 centimeters tall. So you're going to divide by 30. So about 7 feet tall. These are big panels, 7 or 8 feet tall. Nice looking. $5,000 to $7,000 U.S. estimate, or 4,000 to 6,000 pounds, seems reasonable. Nice looking things, very, very decorative. They'd make the end of a room. If you had a big room, you could just put them up there and just let them live there. They'd look great. And the other things that are in the sale is this. This is a set of a part set, dinner service and tea service, 18th century Chinese export porcelain with heraldic shields on them and so forth. Nicely done. Beautiful. They look like they're in very good condition. Late 18th, possibly early 19th century, very early 19th century. Estimated the whole lot is just $760 to $1,000 US for that entire lot. So if you're in the UK and you got a shop, boy, get over there and leave a bid on these things. I think there's some money to be made in that lot. That's a nice looking group. And then the last thing on here is this very attractive punch bowl with the swags going around the top. Here we go. In a memorial crest on it. The gilding on the crest looks very, very good. The enamels and the swags all look very, very fine. It's a 12-inch punch bowl, estimated at just 8 to 1,200 euros, or pounds rather, or 1,000 to 1,500. It should get there. But a nice example, and it's got the memorial crest of the Seton family on here. That's the crest. All right, and that sale is coming up on the 13th in London. So get over there and check it out. And this is something that's coming up. Now, this is at Material Culture in Philadelphia. I was very surprised to see this lot. This is a really good lot. If you like Chinese early, they said circa 1850. These are made around 1810. They're on paper. It's tea processing paintings. And these were sold originally by Martin Gregory over in the UK, who's one of the major dealers in China trade paintings. And they have the stickers on the back. And these are beautifully done, all framed, all ready to go. Tea processing. They have the tea fields out there. And there's his, you can't really read it, but I know that's what, yeah. That's Martin Gregory and Company right there. And they get a very low estimate on these, $1,000 to $200, $2,000 for 10 of these. And these should sell for $600 to $800 a piece all day long, because this is a complete set. And they're very hard to come by. And let's see here. It was in the collection of Charlene Harris. I don't know who she was. Maybe one of you know who she is. And each picture measures, 5 by 8 inches, and then the site size, and then they're of course in bigger frames, so you could make a whole wall out of them. But this is the Material Culture. The sale is on February 29th. And if you've been looking for a great set of these, this is it. And you may get a bargain. They may end up going for just $300 or $400 a piece, which would be a steal. The frames, I always go back to the frames, but the frames on these pictures right here, these frames, to get those frames done would probably cost $300 or $400 a picture to do. You've got easily got $4,000 worth of framework, and they're all done. You don't have to send them out. You don't have to mess with it. They have these very attractive French mats going around each one of them. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. So check that out. And then this, if any of you are Chinese export painting fans and fans of the work of George Chinnery, Many of you are familiar with that name. He was an Englishman, was born in the late 18th century. He went to China. He died in China, as a matter of fact, and he painted. He was buried on Macau, I think. I think that's where he lived most of the time. But he brought sort of an interesting painting style to China, and it's like almost impressionistic looking. And this is very much in the school of Chinnery's work. It may be by Chinnery. This is the thing I'm not sure about. And if you use the Patreon thing, if you're using the Patreon, Cookie mentioned this. Sorry to go back a little bit. We posted an article on the Patreon page this week about George Chinnery, as a matter of fact, because I'd seen this picture and I came across this article that I had on my computer. I said, oh, we should put that in, and there it is. But this is a nice painting, and it's got a ridiculously low estimate. And this is at Lucati in Pineville, Pennsylvania. The estimate is just $400 to $600. It's the site size is 9 by 12, and it's 12 3/4 by 16 inches overall size. So it's a good size picture. The estimate is only $400 to $600. It looks absolutely looks period. This is not it's not a 20th century copy. And the question is it by George Chinnery or not? And if it's by George Chinnery, it's worth thousands and thousands of dollars. But I'm not saying it is, because you have to get it authenticated by whoever maintains the catalog raisonné for it. But it's in that school, and if you're a fan of Chinnery, you might want to look at that as a possible addition to your own collection. And then this is coming up. This is Helmuth and Stone. This was added this week to the Global and Patreon pages. Is a very nice Japanese Kutani lidded jar. It looks like an incense burner, but I don't know. Are there any vent holes in it? Or is it truly a table? I think it's really a jar. But beautifully, wonderfully decorated, signed on the bottom. Nice bit of Kutani. And I know there's a bunch of you out there that collect Kutani, so I threw that in there and I like Kutani ware too, so my little self-serving there. All right, and now over to this is Leland Little. This will be added to the Patreon and Global member pages tomorrow. Leland Little's got a nice sale coming up. Not a huge sale. This is not a massive sale, but there are several very nice lots in here. And this sale is on, it's in 12 days. 12 days and 19 hours. So it's around I don't know what the date is, but that makes it around the 20th or the 21st of the month. But in it is this, a very nice pair of Mandarin jars with food lions on top. Late 18th century, not early 19th century. They look like they're in good condition. They have these beautiful elephant handles on it, vibrantly painted. The colors are very bright on this and very tall, and they seem very slender for this form, which I think is quite appealing. Starting bid of just $50. They should be worth, how tall are they? 13 1/4 inches tall. They should bring $1,500 to $2,000 anyway. But Leland Little does this. This outfit, Leland Little. When they do these, the estimate is $50,000 to $25,000. There's a range for you, but they sell nice things. They're a good little auction house. All right, and then they have this also. They didn't list it as Chinese or Japanese. I think it's probably Japanese. This Seahawk, beautifully painted, wonderful painting, very powerfully done. And it certainly looks Japanese to me. The estimate, $50,000 to $25,000, $50 opening bid. This is something worth going after. It should bring this picture. It's pretty good size, as I recall, right? Yeah, it was 52 by 40 inches, so it's over 4 feet tall. This would take up a nice bit of space on someone's wall, but beautifully done, very tasteful, very elegant, and it should bring $1,200 to $1,500, $1,200 to $1,600. It's worth more than that, I think. If you get a couple of people that love this thing and they paid $4,000 or $5,000 for it, I don't think it would be an unreasonable thing, because it's beautifully done. It's aesthetically very attractive. Check out the shipping though, because it's a big thing. It's going to need special handling. All right, unless you're in the area, and they're in Hillsborough, North Carolina, just down the road from Bronx. All right, and then another piece of Kutani in this sale. This is a big Watano Japanese Kutani jar with feet. It's 15 inches tall, and it's meticulously decorated. The dragon is in good shape. There's very little wear, if any, to the gilding on it. The red enamels are good. I don't see any damage to it, and it's just loaded with mythical beasts coming through the clouds. I love that. winged mythical beasts and dragons, and I don't know what this creature is at the bottom. He looks like a very, very plump and well-fed kid, and there's a phoenix coming up over here. Again, this should be worth $800 to $1,200 pretty comfortably. A nice piece of Kutani, though. Nice piece of Kutani. So that's two pieces of Kutani in one sale. And then there's this, a nice late Ming Dynasty Kisi panel with cranes. If you're a textile buyer, this one is rather nice. I like the background decoration on this a lot. It's got a couple of splits at the bottom, but very soft colors and very nicely done. Nice layout on it. And it's fairly decent size. It's 15 by 20 inches. What's the rest of the inside? It came from Schuler van Rensselaer Kamen, an American scholar renowned for his contribution to the field of art and archaeology, and particularly in Southeast Asia. There we go. Anyway, it should bring $1,000, but we'll see. All right, and the last thing I'm going to mention from that sale is this Kangxi period bowl with the lotus lappets going around the outside of it. This is a 15-inch bowl. This is a big bowl, or a 13-inch bowl. Wait, let me check that. 12 and a half inch bowl, excuse me. Still a big bowl. Nice Kangxi decoration on it. Femi Vert with this blue background and cobalt under the glaze, and then the inside of it is decorated with the very classic basket pattern that became really a big deal during the Qianlong period. There is a bit of wear here to the middle, it looks like, but the rest of it looks fine. They might have had a frog or something in it, one of those things that people put plants in, and if they leave one of those in there for too long and bang it around a little, it can do some damage. But nonetheless, this is a very, very attractive and unusually decorated bowl, and it may have originally had gilding on it. Some of these areas here, I seem to see, it looks like there may have been some gilding at one point on this, which wouldn't be a surprise, but still, wonderful looking bowl. Should bring $1,500 to $2,400, something like that. Very, very attractive. All right, and those will all be on the Global Member Patreon pages this week. As soon as we update it, we'll be updating it tomorrow. So do check that out. Okay, and that's about it. So there's a lot going on. Things have come around quite a bit since the doldrums of December, and I know there's some good sales coming up down in New York. I was talking to somebody down there at one of the auction houses, and they're pretty excited about a couple of sales they're working on. So we'll know more in a short time here. Probably as we approach Asia Week. I think they're sort of scrambling and trying not to jinx it to get it in for Asia Week. If it isn't, it'll be in the later spring sales, of course. And there's some very nice looking things that'll be turning up, I think, on Live Auctioneers in about 2 weeks. So I'll check that. Birdie told me something, and we'll find out. And that's about it. So subscribe, leave a comment. If you haven't left a comment, leave one. I'd love to hear. I do read all the comments. I don't often comment back because I feel a little awkward doing it sometimes. But I always read what people say, what people are interested in future videos and so forth. And as many of you know, if you've made a comment and you notice a few weeks later, we use it. We do use them to sort of to show you what you want, show you what you want to see. Leave a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the newsletter page, go over there. It's on bitamount.com, and it's easy to get to. It's linked right off the homepage right here, and you can sign up for it to get the newsletter each week, so you're notified when the page is updated. Just click that, fill it out. Just put your email address in. We don't even need your name really. We just need to know where to send it, and that sort of thing. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week, and we got some other stuff we're working on, and we'll put them up as soon as we're done. All right. Thank you all for watching. See you all soon. Bye-bye.